Root races and galactic origins of humans. Here's a summary of the different seedings that have been carried out on Earth in 3D and before on other planes, with the aim of creating a divine human Christ prototype with 12 strands of DNA and therefore 12D consciousness. First seeding on Earth in 7D, Gaia. Root race 1, Polarian race. Root race 2, Hyperborean race. Its double antiparticle. The first seeding of the human race on Earth took place approximately 5 million years ago on the 7D version of Earth, i.e. Gaia. The first root race, the Polars or Polarians, was an ethereal race without a solid physical body, coming from the cradle of Lyra. They began to spread into the first two root races called the Polarians of Gaia, Earth in 7D, and the Hyperboreans. Their double antiparticle counterparts of Gaia, according to the law of polarity, all universes and their systems operate as mirror particles, antiparticles. The Hyperboreans are seventh-dimensional Earth root races. The seventh-dimensional Earth is what is called Gaia. It is in the monadic planes, higher density planes, and evolutionary time cycles. As we move through the soul plane, or monadic plane, we connect to the seven-dimensional levels of Earth's consciousness memories. These root races come from our original body, azurite, or sun diamond DNA, and existed millions of years before the Atlantinian cataclysm. The Hyperboreans actually predate the Atlantinians and Lemurians on Earth by millions of years, although the Hyperboreans incarnated among the Lemurians to help assemble the DNA encoding that had been lost. But from this first seeding, galactic wars called the Electric Wars broke out on Gaia, then on Tara. They were triggered by the negative races of the constellation of Orion, draco reptilians, traveling the universe in search of territories to conquer and civilizations to colonize, to take control of the territory of the Earth in this first seeding of the divine Christ human prototype with 12 strands of DNA. These wars caused a division between the Polarians and the Hyperboreans, and soul fragmentation due to trauma caused serious genetic damage. Numerous conflicts and wars between the races then ensued, causing damage and genetic mutations resulting from these explosions and the involution of some of the races. Humans should clean up their mess so they can access their cosmic families again. Our bodies were sealed and we were separated from our 12 DNA consciousness. Monad, monadic plane, monad and soul. Our soul and monad is a family of consciousness that contains extensions that exist simultaneously in other dimensional timelines. The first level of spiritual awakening is the connection with our soul consciousness and its extensions. Our soul family is made up of 12 different simultaneous individual personalities, equals 12 incarnations at the same time on different planets. As we integrate our soul consciousness, we integrate these 12 aspects into our consciousness body. The monad is the aspect of our multidimensional self that maintains our direct connection to Source. our ability to manifest in space-time matter forms and maintain open communication, back and forth flow. It holds our capacity for eternal life and serves as a two-way swinging door to and from Source. The Earth is essentially going through increasingly intense levels of a monadic reset process at this time. The monad is the spark of the living flame. It is the living flow of primordial life force currents, the generator that brings the living consciousness of Source into our reality and provides this consciousness as the fuel from which our reality is made and sustained. We can think of the monad as the generator of life, the energy that flows through the embodied model and gives it life. The angelic human prototype on Tara was incredibly genetically advanced and was designed to embody and contain the entire universal genetic library, as well as to have direct communication links with celestial management structures and other stellar civilizations. After the explosion of Tara, the Lyrians, Elohims, Felines, supervised the Syrians during the anchoring of the 12-stranded human prototype of DNA on Earth. These groups, involved in the seeding and rehabilitation of Christ's genetics, are called the Lyrian-Syrian High Councils. After the fall of Tara, the Annunaki descended into the lower dimensions through the Azurites and Oraphim, including current indigo, DNA strand template. The second seeding corresponds to the Lemurian and Atlantean civilization, which succeeded the Hyperborean and which preceded our current civilization. Seeding 3. Root race 3, the Lemurian race. DNA strand 2. Lemuria, also called the continent of Mu, was highly spiritually developed and a matriarchal civilization. For a certain time, it coexisted with the Atlantean civilization. The Lemurian civilization was also the subject of invasions by the group of Aryan and the Anunnakis, and in turn suffered a holocaust, the Lemurian Holocaust, around 50,000 years ago. The Draco had secretly set up underground tunnels connecting Lemuria and Atlantis. Humans tried to block these tunnels, which resulted in giant cataclysms that destroyed the Earth's surface, portions of the Pacific Ocean continent, intra-Earth, and made the underground tunnels inaccessible. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and floods have caused the deaths of thousands of humans. With the Ice Age coming, the surviving Lemurians were forced to relocate underground where they began repairing the planetary grids. After the Earth's surface began to be repaired, the Lemurians relocated to Egypt, approximately 35,000 to 45,000 years ago. Root race 4, the Atlantean race, DNA strand 3. Atlantis was at its peak height when it was ruled by the Toltecs, ancestors of the Native Americans, a period called the Golden Age, approximately 1 million years ago. The early civilization lived in luxury and abundance, and its capital was called the City of Golden Bridges. At its peak, Atlantis had 2 million inhabitants, and the city was made up of numerous aqueducts flowing from a mountain lake. The Atlanteans had ships and were the first to develop military fleets. Then, The civilization was infiltrated by self-serving negative races, dracos, Anunnakis, and their allies. And it began to fall with the increase in the practice of black magic. This civilization gradually began to become materialistic and selfish. The practice of black magic reached its peak around 250,000 BC and continued until the engulfment of Atlantis. Although white mages, practitioners and teachers of the law of one, tried to wipe it out. The black mages used spells to create human-animal hybrid creatures called chimeras. Today in our mythologies, mermaids, minotaur, satyr, manticore, Igipan, which were used for all kinds of agendas, including sexual slavery. They also built armies composed of chimeras, human bodies with heads of ferocious predators such as lions, tigers, and bears, which ate the bodies of enemies on the battlefields. At the end of the second seeding, starting 75,000 years ago, the Anunnaki began to forcibly hybridize with humans, creating a new race, the Nephilim. This race was not authorized by the Elohims, which triggered conflicts and therefore new wars. The Nephilim wars stopped the seeding attempt, and we prepared for the next cycle of evolution, which was also interfered with, this time by the Luciferian rebellion, causing the fall of Atlantis. About 35,000 years ago, racial families of Melchizedek came to help repair the genetic digression at that time. Now, violations by the incarnated Melchizedeks, improperly using the earth portals around the Egyptian dynastic timeline, release many dark energies onto the surface of the earth. Around 30,000 years ago, since these Nephilim wars, Nibiru's Anunnaki resistance and Melchizedek patriarchal factions have launched increasingly aggressive campaigns to take possession of the intra-Earth and Earth territories. Around 28,000 BC, during the second cataclysm of Atlantis, the Anunnaki became even more aggressive in their desire to remove all ET technology from humans, capture them from genetic experimentation, and make them a slave race. The Draco returned to Lemuria to complete their genocide and destroy any remnants of matriarchal Lemurian influence on Kauai, Hawaiian Islands, 22,000 years ago. They took women for forced reproduction and hybridization. This was the final stage of the Lemurian genocide and Holocaust. The Syrians warned them of the dangers of abusing crystal technology in the center of the earth. But these groups continued to insert massive energy generators into the earth and into the crystal caverns. Several generators exploded and destroyed the surface of Earth's continents, even more powerfully than the previous Lemurian Holocaust, killing many more humans. The Earth shifted its axis, which resulted in damage to stargates, interdimensional portals, and Earth grids. All pyramids and ET technology disconnected and shut down. The flood and resulting cataclysm destroyed the Atlantean colonies and much of Earth's surface. This is what we call the Atlantean flood. In 9558 BC, the Anunnaki once again launched a war against humanity, organizing for the establishment of a world order and total takeover via the Luciferian pacts, wars called the Luciferian Rebellion. These groups went into the main star portal in Egypt and pulsed electromagnetic frequencies so powerful that it moved the tectonic plates. It was at this time that the Syrians removed all ET technology and crystals from the planet to prevent any further abuse by these invading and destructive races. With the final explosion in Atlantis and the removal of all advanced extraterrestrial technology by the Syrians, humanity was plunged into the Dark Ages and lost spiritual and technological knowledge. This gave birth to distortions and infiltrations of the astral, pathologies of the negative ego, addictions, illnesses. No one could enter or leave this universe anymore. Representatives of the guardian races from higher dimensions, such as Akhenaten, Jesus, Jeshua, Christ, and his wife, had to incarnate to prevent future annihilations. In 9550 BC, a galactic quarantine was placed around Earth, which completely disconnected humans from all stellar and interdimensional communications. The Orion group and their Annunaki allies are the same races who today are establishing the New World Order and are at the head of the Illuminati factions, the people in power, the elite, for the total enslavement of current humans and transhumanism, having created societal hierarchical classes and a slave race, which is the reptilian Aryan ideology. Third seeding, 3D Earth. Root race 5, the Aryan race, DNA strand 4. Our current human civilization, the Aryan race, is believed to anchor and activate DNA strand 4 heart chakra. Yet many wars sow chaos. In the 20th century alone, the last two world wars showed the full horror of the perpetuation of mass genocides, orchestrated by these negative races and their human allies, in the same vein as the wars of civilizations and previous seedings. Humans will have to wake up to the reality that these crimes are precisely not human and constitute the logical continuation of previous genocides orchestrated in all previous seedings by these draco, reptilian, Annunaki races, characterized by their psychopathy and cruelty. They are Luciferian and satanic races, who feed on the bloodshed and human sacrifices, as well as the energy of death that wars provide them. Their goal has always been the same for millions of years: to prevent the original divine human DNA from thriving on Earth, an antichrist conflict, hatred against all that is Christ, in order to take power and dominate colonies through terror and enslavement, and to feed on the low frequency energies of fear, horror, and trauma that humans accumulate in their cellular memories from lifetime to lifetime, kept in ignorance of who they are. The New Age has been inseminated on Earth artificially and in a planned manner by these same Luciferian races. And most of the channels or communication with the ascended masters or ET figures such as Commander Ashtar are in fact astral manipulations of these entities with the aim of luring and imprisoning the conscience of those who will fall into these traps, into golden cages, or even make pacts with certain entities who will thus capture their souls. These are the Luciferian programs organized in the same way as religions which have enslaved, controlled, and served as a pretext to massacre millions of humans. The followers of the New Age have been completely disconnected from reality to be immersed in a form of astral ecstasy where all is love and light, completely ignorant of the manipulation of our true past and of our current exopolitical situation. Finality of the galactic history of root race seedings. Humans would have to undergo a slow evolution to reassemble the DNA and clean up their mess so that they could once again access their cosmic families. Our bodies were sealed, and we were separated from our 12 consciousnesses and our 12 DNA strands. This distortion created a separation for us between our antiparticle and particle selves, meaning we now experience separation and duality. Therefore, consciousness was produced through subsequent cycles of seeding and evolution. This also means that we would experience separation and awareness of other aspects of ourselves, including our dark layers and those of the light body. To begin healing our fragmentation, we must begin by unifying our stations of identity, ourselves in all dimensions and layers of consciousness across the time fields dimensions. During our repeated incarnations, we will regain the unification of our consciousness by beginning to attract our Lemurian fragments through our 2D second chakra and our Atlantean fragments through our third chakra and our conscious spirits. The 4D human body astral plane will also draw from the third and fourth root race fragments, as part of the separate emotional soul body that was created from these distortions on our morphogenic field plane from the damage to DNA. So, another task for the human race is that we are responsible for collecting the fragments of ourselves from the cycles and seedings of other root races. Sources: The Travelers, Volumes 1 and 2 by Ashayana Dean. Books by Zachariah Sitchin and Mauro Binglino. Even though I'm isolated here in Colombia, without a credit card, the divine infinite love created the opportunity for me to receive the audiobook version narrated by David Icke for free. Divine Perfection. I strongly encourage you to get this infinite love energy. Infinite love. Let's rejoice, because the absurd insanity we are experiencing is forcing more and more people to awaken. However, we must have compassion for those who are incapable of awakening, because the injections have created a separation from the individual soul. The only way out of the matrix is absolute non-compliance. The CBDCs will make it impossible to function in the system. I'm not interested in survival, which leads to inevitable death. I choose to live at all costs. I'm absolutely certain that the courageous ones must choose to get out of the matrix completely by November 2023. Please view the many videos I created on the time wave spirals. I was blessed because my jail experience forced me to leave Canada and what appeared to be a perfect life as a very successful dentist and mother of 2 wonderful children. One needs great courage to jump into the complete unknown, but it is an absolute necessity in this evolutionary crisis. Today, I'm in a position to assist individuals who choose life. Just 2 kilometers from our farm, I discovered a small development. One can purchase a lot of 1,000 meters square and a 3-bedroom house for $60,000 US at today's rate of exchange. While your home is under construction, you can start developing the agriculture of sacha inchi nut, avocados, pineapple, yucca, papaya, bananas, citrus fruit, and a vegetable garden. One can raise chickens and other small animals. A long-term stay at Cascata Cafe Retiro is $300 US per month. I also offer dentistry, including complex full-mouth reconstruction at a cost of 35% of European and North American prices. The global prison planet is being dismantled, and we have the honor of witnessing this. I conclude by encouraging you to continue your inner evolution despite the current world scenario, which can seem worrying when we forget that the divine is behind everything and that the supramental world is at our doorstep. Please share my videos. Infinite love.